What's up, MMA fans on YouTube? I'm gonna come do the UFC fight for the troops predictions. I'm gonna step away from football for a little while and talk about something that actually makes me happy, which is MMA. And if it's free, it's even better. But this looks like a pretty good card for a free show. I mean, all 5 fights that are scheduled to be aired are pretty good. There's some intriguing undercards too, so this will be a pretty good card for a free show. And then on Saturday we have the final of the Ultimate Fighter, so this should be a pretty good week for us. And then 2 weeks out we got, you know, big card, Ultimate 08, so this is pretty good stretch of fights coming up for us. Now, here we go. I'm going to do the first fight of the night. It'll be Tim Credier against Nate Loughran. I think that's how his name's pronounced. Credier, obviously, from The Ultimate Fighter with Rampage and Griffin. And Nate Loughran. This should be a pretty good fight. Both are like tall, rangy middleweights. Around 6'2", 6'3" variety. Credier, a little more well known, but looking at his record, the 2 guys that he's fought that have any kind of really name recognition, Joey Villasenor and Chael Sonnen, he's lost both times. Loughran is undefeated. He's 9-0 out of the NorCal Fighting Alliance, which is a pretty good camp. So this fight should be an interesting fight. I think it can go either way, because I think we've seen Credier, we've seen him, you know, get beat. CB beat him twice, kind of just outlasted him, was able to out-tough him. Loughran looks like a tough guy. I'm going to go with the upset here. I'm going to go with Loughran because he's a young cat. He's coming up, and Credier, against the 2 named fighters that he's fought, he's lost against. Not that Loughran's a named fighter, but I just think that Credier's at the point where he's probably reached his peak, and he's you know, he is what he is at this point in his career. He's not going to become a powerful striker or a dominant wrestler. He just kind of has leveled off. That's just in my opinion, but I pick Loughran to win this fight. Tough decision, probably. Tough decision fight. I don't know. Credier's I'll give him credit. He's a really tough guy. He's very, very hard to stop. So I'll give Loughran a 3-round decision. On to the next fight, Steve Cantwell against, I think it's Razik Ali Hussein. And that should be an interesting name to announce to the troops. I was thinking that myself. They probably won't react to that too well, but he's an American. He's probably Muslim by choice. Looks like a very intelligent guy. Saw his interview on the UFC.com, and he looked like a well-adjusted guy. Very smart about the way he wanted to approach the fight. He's a 6-0 fighter going against Cantwell, who's only lost 1 fight, and he actually avenged that loss, obviously, as we all know, against Brian Stann. Back in the WEC, he was actually the 3rd WEC light heavyweight champion, and now we're starting to see, this is the first evidence of those guys coming over to the UFC. Their middleweights and their light heavyweights, the ones that they wanted. So he showed a lot of improvement in that Stann fight. It was a big stage. Don't know if Hussein's fought on that stage before. It's going to be obviously a big Cantwell crowd, I think, just because of the name thing. I know it sounds petty, but that's just my opinion. And I picked Cantwell to win this fight. I think he showed a lot of improvement, beating a guy who knocked him out, a guy that was on a roll like Stein was. And I'll pick him to probably end this fight in a stoppage, mid-second round. Catches something, Hussein with something big, gets him down, finishes him with strikes. Like I said, 2nd round. Now on to the next fight, Jim Miller against Matt Wiman. Now this is a really, really good fight. Jim Miller's from right here in Whippany, New Jersey. He's been on a roll in the UFC, was in the IFL, was very successful there. And he's facing a very, very good fighter. Matt Wiman's really improved ever since we saw him back in the days of, you know, first time he fought Spencer Fisher. He kind of let himself get out of that fight mentally, got a little too much into Spencer Fisher's head games, ended up getting caught with a big flying knee. It was a big highlight flying knee. knocked Wyman out. Ever since then, he's done very well in the UFC. In his last fight against Thiago Tavares, he got some big shots in that fight, and he gave as good as he got and ended up knocking Tavares cold. It was a huge win for him. And Miller's obviously done very well. He won his last fight back at UFC 89 against a Frenchman. I think it's David Barron, and he won that fight, I think, via submission. I think so. And I think Wyman's a little bit bigger 155er. I think he's just as good a striker. He's good on the ground. He's a good wrestler. He's been on this stage before. This is not going to be anything new to him. But Miller has too. So I think that they kind of cancel each other out there. But I'm going to go with Wyman. Just as well-rounded, size advantage. This is going to be a grinded out fight. I think Miller's coming off a little bit less rest than Wyman is from his last fight. So I picked Wyman in this fight, probably by split or unanimous decision. Now on to the next fight, which was scheduled to happen back at a prior fight night. Now it's happening now. I think Goulet had to step out because of a illness that he had. Mike Quick Swick against Jonathan, the Road Warrior Goulet. Swick hasn't really been as impressive at 170 as he was at 185. He doesn't look as explosive or as no pun intended, quick at 170 as you think he would. But he did at 185. I don't know if the weight cut's affecting him or he's still getting used to it. I mean, this is a guy who was competing on at 205 on the original Ultimate Fighter, and he by far not a true 205er. He's pretty much a 170 pounder. And Goulet, I mean, they're both tall, rangy welterweights. I think this will be a good fight. Goulet was very impressive in his last fight. I believe it was UFC 83. He knocked his opponent out pretty decisively. Swick, his last fight was against Marcus Davis. He won a grinded out decision, had Davis cut pretty bad, so that's very impressive. Was able to keep Davis off balance, wasn't able to get in his range and take any of those shots that Davis likes to throw and knock people out with. Goulet, I think, is more famous for getting knocked out so quick by Dwayne Ludwig when he just walked out and just got punched and pretty much fell. And I don't care what they say, that was probably the quickest knockout in MMA history. It was not 11 seconds, it was more like 5 or 6. But anyway, onto this card and this fight. I think Swick will probably win because of his training partners. I know Goulet was talking about how he had problems finding training partners, and now he's at the TriStar gym with a lot of the good Canadian fighters. But I think Swick just trains with some of the best crop of welterweights there are, and Fitch and Koscheck. He has a lot of good guys that are his size and bigger that are really good wrestlers. I mean, Koscheck's striking looks phenomenal now. And I think Swick will probably win this fight. I think you probably want to make a statement in this fight, and I'm going to pick him to knock Goulet out. I think he stops Goulet in the first or second round. I think he's going to finally adjust to that welterweight cut. He's going to get in there. He's going to be a little more free with his hands. He's going to let go, and he's going to knock Goulet out. Now to the next fight, which is a very good fight, and have a little bit of trepidation about this fight. Josh Koscheck versus Yoshida, and this should be a great grappling match. Yoshida's obviously the judo specialist. Koscheck is your quintessential collegiate wrestler who's a very, very good MMA wrestler as well, and his striking looks great. Even though he did get outstruck by a better striker, Thiago Alves, in his last fight, but in his prior fight with Dustin Hazlett, he looked great. He showed a very, really good chin because he got rocked in that fight. He got rocked with Alves too, and he was able to hang in there. And I think he'll be able to eat whatever Yoshida throws at him. But I do think Yoshida is very, very good on the ground. He pretty much buzzsawed through John Koppenhaber in his first fight in the UFC. Was scheduled to fight Carl Parisian. That didn't happen. Josh Koscheck, kind of a similar story in his last fight. Diego Sanchez wasn't able to fight, steps in, and my thing is Josh Koscheck's, but this is going to be his third fight in like a 6th or 7th month period. A lot of wear and tear. He's a great athlete. Maybe this helps him, maybe this hurts him. Those were all pretty hard fought fights. I mean, he did knock out Hazlett, but that fight was a very, very hard fight. Hazlett was given just as good as he got till he got caught with a head kick. And in his last fight, he lost a unanimous decision to Alves, where he took a lot of big shots and went the distance. So, this is a tough one, but I'll go with Koscheck in this fight. I think he's gonna want to take Yoshida down, and Koscheck's showing some very good ground and pound as of late. As we saw with the Lytle fight, he was able to ground and pound Lytle and really just hammer him with some big shots. It was very impressive to see. I actually think Lytle was his third fight. I don't think it was Hazlett, but Koscheck is a very active fighter, and I think he'll win this fight if he's able to stay out of Yoshida's submissions, see how he handles the throws, and his striking is very improved. I think Koscheck will win this fight. I think he'll probably win a split unanimous decision. Yoshida's very tough. He's a lot more rested than Koscheck is. Again, maybe that hurts, maybe that helps. We'll see what happens. But until then, you guys have a good one. Take care. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'm gonna probably do the Ultimate Fighter final right after this one. So until then, you guys take care.